good, everybody? Welcome back to the Targeted Podcast. And this is our opportunity right here. This is our chance to weigh into the GOAT debate that's been raging on ever since LeBron captured his fourth title. So I'm Nick. I'm on the line with Zahid. We're going to get right into it. MJ is the best. MJ is the GOAT. That's it. We're pretty much turning the camera off right now. Over.
Oh, God. Okay, here we go. All right, I do want to say this. Well, my name is Zahid, by the way. So Omar isn't here. We forgot to let's mention Omar, and the reason why he's here is because when we asked him,
I won't say why. I'll say why.
I'll say why. I'll say why. I'll straight call him out. I'm gonna say. So the reason why Omar isn't here is when we asked him who's the greatest basketball player of all time, he says Tiger Woods. And I'm like, you can sit this one out, Omar. So yeah, that's why Omar isn't here. I'm kidding. He's not comfortable talking about this, but yeah. So
you're still bailing him out, but we'll let him. I say you're still bailing him out, but we'll let him live. We'll let him live.
He's it's funny. All right, so I'm gonna tell you a little story, Nicholas. Okay.
All right. Let's go.
A little monologue here. So if you asked me this question, like maybe 5 years ago or so, maybe 10 years ago, 5 years ago, clearly I would say Michael Jordan, right? Michael Jordan means a lot to me, means a lot to everyone, right? I would easily say he's the greatest of all time, right? But LeBron winning the fourth, right, with a third team, with a third coach, right, kind of changes some things a little bit for me. I'm just saying. So, I mean, I'm not willing to put LeBron James there yet, but if someone comes up to me and asks me LeBron James is the greatest of all time, I'm not going to call him an idiot like I would 5 years ago or last year, actually.
Well, no, I mean, I would never say that somebody's an idiot for sharing their opinion. I'm not going to say that.
I will. I will. People call him the greatest when he was just getting in the league, or 5 years ago when he hadn't proven it yet, and he's proven it now, in my opinion. I will say this though, Nicholas. So when LeBron won his fourth, right? I asked on Instagram, right? Is LeBron the greatest now? And most people said no, right? Then I asked the second question, right? Will LeBron James ever be the greatest of all time? And you, Nicholas Lewis, said no. That LeBron will never be the greatest of all time. So I need you to kind of explain that to me. How is LeBron? You see, LeBron can never pass Jordan ever, no matter what he does.
Well, first of all, I was trolling. Right? I was trolling with you, right? I mean, that's
how are you trolling the poll? Who you choose a poll?
Because I know you, right? I know you're gonna come back and be like, "What's your problem?" Whatever. So I was trolling, but what I will say is that I think maybe in time you might be able to say that LeBron had a better career, just because of the longevity and the fact that no injuries, just being able to play along at such a high level. I give him props for that. That's why for me. He'll probably be number two as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, but you're not trolling that. You're answering honestly. He will never be the greatest.
I mean, I gotta be real. But is he a better player? No. Right? So, first of all, you have the 6 championships.
Okay.
Undefeated in the finals. LeBron defeated in the finals many times, right? You also have the different eras, right? So, Jordan played in an era where players didn't really have as much control over where they went, who they played with, right? So he stayed with the same franchise and built and became the foundation for that franchise and making it into a winning franchise. True or false? Did he not become the linchpin for the franchise? Was he not the reason why people came to play there? Yes.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
LeBron comes into Cleveland, plays for about 7 years, rolls out, gives D Wade a call, Give Chris Bosh a call. Guys, let's play together so I can finally beat Boston. Right? Goes down there. I'm not going to win 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6. Right? They did the whole count off. They're playing that first year, getting their ass beat by Dallas. Right? Then they rattle off two rings, which I'm very happy about. Then
you don't sound happy about it.
I'm a LeBron fan, right?
Okay.
Then he goes and I think after the next 2 rings, he played the Spurs, lost to the Spurs, came back the next year, beat the Spurs. Okay. Pretty much because of Ray Allen's 3 at the last second. Let's just be real. Let's just call it what it is, right?
Okay.
Call it what it is?
Okay.
So he's like, okay.
I have counter arguments to all this, but go ahead.
Go ahead. Let's start there. Go ahead.
No. Continue. Please continue.
No, go ahead. Let me hear what you have to say to that.
Okay.
He runs off, calls his boys, calls 2 of the best players in the league. Hey guys, I need help. Please get me 2 rings so that my legacy won't be tarnished. Please help me. D-Wade, you're a former champion. Can I come play with you? Can I come learn the game? Can I come learn how to be a leader?
Well, LeBron won Finals MVPs there in Miami, right? He won 2 Final MVP, right? He was the leader of that team for years, right? So here are a couple of my counter arguments, right? So let's start with the famous, 6.
The decision?
No, the 6 rings that Jordan's won, right?
Undefeated. Was he Finals MVP every time?
Yeah, Finals MVP every time. No, I love Jordan, right?
Oh.
And I think, to your point too, that decision thing with him decision saying not 1, not 2, not 3, that's what I hated LeBron too. When he did that, I was like, man, F this guy. This guy will never be Jordan. Like, screw him. Right?
I loved him for it, by the way. I love the cockiness that he showed at that point.
Well, I mean, I can go into LeBron as a human being, right? Like, he's just a great human being, like starting a school for kids in his hometown, right? Things like that. So he's done just very well. The Shut Up and Dribble documentary that he did as well to kind of combat how black athletes are kind of just told to just shut up and play their sport and not get involved politically. So from that aspect, we won't get into that. Right, but LeBron's is awesome, right? And I'll always appreciate him for that. Let's start with these championships, right? The 6 championships. So LeBron James has done something that both Jordan and Kobe hasn't done, right? And that was win an NBA championship without Phil Jackson, right? Phil Jackson is the greatest coach of all time. We can agree with that, right? He's the greatest coach of all time. Nicholas is like, he won a championship. He won a championship without Phil Jackson, right? Michael Jordan didn't win a championship without his sidekick, Scottie Pippen. Now, look, this is not to discredit anything from
That's what happens when you stay with a team and get the right talent around you. That's what happens.
No, yes, but now we're
come and stay.
It's so funny.
You don't have to jump around and go recruiting the best players around the league.
So
Kyrie Irving.
It's so funny that you say that, though. It's so funny that you say that. Because
Chris Bosh.
This guy.
Love.
Well, we'll talk about that later.
LeBron All-Stars.
Okay. Let's talk about that later. But okay. So he hasn't won a championship without Phil Jackson. And to your point, right, he stayed with that team, right? We judge our great players by how many championships they've won, right? Cleveland was not a well-run organization, not to the level of Chicago. We can agree on that, right? Cleveland's is not.
Before Jordan got to Chicago, they were also not. They were losers. They were losers.
And they were continuing losing until they got Phil Jackson and Scottie Pippen.
They had to get a better coach, yes.
Yeah, but my point is they were losers until Phil Jackson and Scottie Pippen came to help him out.
Okay, and LeBron was LeBron a loser until he got D Wade and Chris Bosh?
No.
Yes.
He made it to the finals.
Yes.
He made it to the finals.
Did
He made it to
win?
the finals. And that's another huh?
Did he win? Did he
No,
win?
he didn't win, but he made it to the finals.
No. So that means he did not win without another All-Star.
Whatever. He made it to the finals. He made it to the finals, Nicholas. What are we doing here? Jordan did not make it to the finals. Talk less of win anything without these guys. Like, look, let's talk about the finals and appearances, right? So let's talk that, okay? So,
and you're also saying so basically Jordan needed one additional player to help him get over the hurdle. Okay. Like
a coach. The greatest coach of all time.
How is that like?
He needed an additional player and the greatest coach of all time to help him get over the hurdle.
He wasn't the greatest coach of all time at that point, though. He needed him. That's like saying
coach of all time.
Bill Belichick. That's like saying. So that's like the Tom Brady, Bill Belichick question, right?
Okay, but that Tom Brady, Bill Belichick question hasn't been answered yet, right? So we're still up to the decision to that, right? We know that Phil Jackson also won how many championships? Like 5 with the Lakers afterwards, right? So I mean, come on. There's only another coach that has as many championships as him, and that's Red Auerbach.
The greatest of all time. Kobe and Shaq, 2 other top 10 players of all time.
That's fair, but they did not win until he got there. Right?
He wasn't going to win without them either.
Huh?
He wasn't going to win without them either.
Well, fair enough. Like, you can argue that, yeah, Phil Jackson finds himself coaching the greatest players of all time. Sure. I don't think it's a coincidence that, I don't think it's a coincidence that he goes to Chicago. Chicago is horribly, like, bad. He turns him around. Or I won't say turns him around. I'll say he leads him to winning championship. Then goes to LA, and does the same thing. But let's go back to these championships, right? So, and let's talk who LeBron James lost to in the finals, right? Outside of that Dallas team, right? LeBron James lost to, I would say, some of the greatest teams of all time, right? So he lost to San Antonio twice. He lost to them once when he was in Cleveland. He lost to them once when he was in Miami, and he beat them once, right? He lost to a crazy stupid stacked Golden State Warriors team, right? Like we all remember that trilogy or that 4-part episode of like him going against the Warriors, right? Warriors won. He was down 2 players, and he still took him to 6 games, right? Then the Warriors win 73 games, right? The greatest regular season team of all time, and LeBron beats them in 7, right? And what did it for me, right? When I started thinking LeBron James may be the greatest, and it's hard for me to say that as a Jordan fan. I can't believe I said that. But the reason why I think LeBron may have start getting his respect as the greatest now is when they lost the next finals to Golden State. That's when they got Kevin Durant. So I remember they lost that finals 5-1. And that's kind of where it clicked to me. It clicked to me that Golden State was not beating a full-powered Cleveland team, not without Kevin Durant, right? So those Kevin Durant Warriors teams, I would argue, is the greatest teams of all time. Greatest teams of all time.
Definitely up there, but you also have to understand too that he lost. So it was like they played what 3 times, right? So
4 times.
And was it Cleveland?
He played him with Cleveland, yes.
So the first time he lost, that was with Draymond, Clay, and Steph.
Yeah,
right?
And he didn't have Kyrie Irving, he didn't have Kevin Love.
All right. So then the second time he won on some dirty stuff in Game 5 where he got Draymond kicked out. Let's be real.
Oh, okay. They were still up 3-1 in the finals, though. They were still up 3-1 in the finals.
He also got the man suspended. But I
He
gave it
was
to him.
up
Like
3-1 in the finals.
it was a great comeback. Got the man suspended. Played on Draymond's emotions. In my opinion, Draymond lost that series for the Warriors. That's just my opinion.
What the hell? How did
If it
Draymond lose
wasn't
that
for
series for the
emotions,
Warriors when you're down, when you're up 3-1? You're up 3-1.
but
We were just getting on the Clippers for this a couple weeks ago. They were up 3-1 on the Nuggets, and they lost.
The Clippers are an entirely different animal because they only had one season to play together. They weren't.
Oh, you sound like you're making excuses. Come on.
They weren't a team.
Come on.
I mean, let's be real. Come on. Yeah, come on.
No,
this is the only season they got to play together. You got Kawhi, Paul George, and what's the other dude? Patrick Beverly and Lou Williams and them. Like, during the season, they didn't really play together like that. They didn't really gel. They weren't really. Yeah.
Keep in mind, LeBron James didn't really play together with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh, and they made it to the finals. Still, right? They lost to Dallas, but they made it to the finals. I'm just saying.
I get it. I mean, I was bet they were clearly a better team than the Clippers were this year. I mean,
well, look, I will say that the Clippers,
nobody's arguing that.
The Clippers are overrated. They're not ever gonna be anything, unfortunately.
So I mean, I'll give you this. So like when LeBron entered the conversation for me when he made the comeback down 3-1. Like that's when he entered the conversation for me.
Yeah.
Right. But again, he's still like 4-10, right?
He lost to the greatest teams of all time. Outside of Dallas, the greatest teams of all time. He lost to the San Antonio Spurs team. He lost to the Golden State Warriors team. Those are all-time great teams. If we were to make a list of the top
teams of
all time, those teams would be on there.
When Jordan then beat the Lakers, they were among the greatest teams of all time?
So
Magic Worthy, Kareem.
I think Magic was a little bit out of this. They were aged though. Weren't they aged?
I mean, come on.
I think they were aged. Look, I will give Jordan this, right? So that Bulls team also beat some great teams of all time. So they beat a Seattle team that was like they only lost 15 games, right? So yeah, so they beat that Seattle team that only lost 15 games when they only lost 10 that year, right?
And let's not forget about the Jazz. Like, let's not act like the two Jazz teams he beat weren't up there.
I'm giving you that too. So the Jazz is another really good team. Those are the two. Like, I would give.
So those arguments cancel each other out. Then you're talking about like who LeBron beat and who Jordan beat. They kind of cancel each other out.
Do they though?
Yes. Yes.
I don't think so. The Warriors team is the greatest team of all time.
Regular season, the greatest team of all time, at least since I've been watching, was the 72-10 Bulls.
I would say no. I would say that Warriors team with Kevin Durant would beat that Bulls team. I know that's blasphemy.
It would be close, but
again,
that Bulls team, and they played different eras, right? So the rules are different as well. Because with Durant and them, you're just waltzing through the lane, and any contact is a foul. Which brings me to my next issue with LeBron's game, okay? And this era right here, okay? Too many times have I watched LeBron. LeBron has all the skills in the world. Too many times have I watched this man basically go barreling down the lane and the 3 or 4 guys and get mad when he doesn't get a call or some BS like that. It's like, dude, find a way to score. Stop begging for calls. Stop arguing with the refs. Go out here and play. Like, you're too good to be doing that.
You're acting as if Jordan never argued with the refs before. Like, come on. Jordan has definitely argued with the refs in his time.
I'm not saying he didn't argue with the refs, but I'm saying in watching him, I'm not watching Jordan barrel into 5 guys and be like, hey, why didn't I get a call? I'm watching Jordan take guys one-on-one straight to the hole and then getting calls.
Okay, let me ask you this. Do you think the players now are better than the players in Jordan's era?
Not necessarily. I would say that this is the difference between now and in Jordan's era is the medicine and just the physical upkeep. I
Yeah.
think different because when you look at like the Last Dance, for example, and how Jordan and them were acting like after games, like they were saying like, we had like some beers after the game, or you go to Jordan's room and it's like full of cigar smoke and all this other stuff where he's like up late, like doing all this other crazy stuff.
Mm.
You don't hear LeBron and them talking about that stuff. You know what I mean? They're like, yo, I need to get this sleep. I need this and that. But even then, when you're talking about Jordan's era, we don't hear guys talking about so much about load management. Okay, I need to sit this one out. I'm tired.
Okay, you're talking about Kawhi Leonard, which that worked, by the way. Kawhi Leonard's load management worked, by the way. No, but okay, but you made a good point though, because I have no problem saying that the players now, right, in this generation are way better than what they were in the 90s, simply for what you just said, right? Advances of sports medicine, right?
So I think that enables them to play longer, but I'm not sure it necessarily means that they're better.
I would definitely think they're better. I think players are bigger, faster, stronger now than they were then. And it's not just even just sports medicine, right? Think of the way the money that's put into like AAU teams and bringing up and cultivating young players. Think of how the outreach the NBA has done, right? We have like Luka Doncic now, who's killing it in the league now. Like that general outreach, Rudy Gobert, right? So like the NBA is definitely much better now than it is then, and that's just how progress works, right? Right? We get better as human beings, right? So that's just the nature of it. And so when you take that into consideration, right? There's no doubt in my mind like teams now would beat teams in the 90s basically just because of how progress works, just because of the money that's been put into it, because of just how the league's progressed. But you take that into consideration.
You can't just say that based on how the league's progressed.
Well, but hear me out though.
It depends on the era though. So like,
yeah, no, but hear me out though. So this is what
Ben was playing now. I mean, dude might have averaged 40.
Maybe. But yeah, I didn't finish my point though. So just hear me out though. You take, when you're judging eras like this, in my opinion, right? You take how they dominated their era, right? I will always think Bill Russell, and I don't think he gets enough credit, is one of the greatest winners of all time in any sport, right?
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. But he lived in a different era. So you have to consider how he dominated that era, how Jordan dominated his era, how LeBron dominated his era, right? And one of the changes in this era is player movement, right? And let's face facts and facts. LeBron is a player. He plays as a coach. He plays as a GM, recruiting people. Where Jordan didn't have to do all that, right?
It's not he didn't have to. He couldn't either, right?
Fair enough, right?
The man's the cornerstone of his franchise. He didn't have to move around to get his chips. He stayed there.
That didn't stop Carmelo from doing it for him, right? But I'm just saying.
He built it up and turned that franchise into a winner.
Yeah, and you can
argue
that LeBron James did the same thing with the Lakers too, right? He also did something very similar to Cleveland as well, right? You can even argue he did that with Miami, even though Miami won a championship before LeBron was there. They weren't winning a lot of games until he got there again, and he went to the finals. Was it 3 straight times, right? So yeah, I think it was 4 times. Yeah, it was 4 times when he was in Miami. He went to the finals 4 straight times. So
yeah, I'm not saying he doesn't have the right impact. I mean, I'm not saying he doesn't have the right impact, but I'm also saying that again, he picks and chooses like who he wants to play with, and goes and does his thing. I mean, there's no denying that. That's what he does. Jordan didn't do that.
Well, Jordan couldn't do that, as you said. And if he could, he probably would have more championships. But
I don't know, because the mentality was different then. But even if,
I think that's also part of LeBron's lore too, right? And I've definitely kind of used his example in my career, right? In the sense that, like, if these guys don't want me, or if these guys just aren't up to snuff, I can go somewhere else, take my talent somewhere else, right? So I think that's actually what makes LeBron James great. He knows that we judge people based off of championships, right? So there's nothing wrong with him trying to chase championships, right? Yeah, I was kind of on him going to Miami, then back to like Cleveland. But the fact of the matter is, like, those franchises weren't doing much before he got there. Even the Lakers was in shambles before he got there, right? The Lakers was sucky, right? They were terrible. Then he got there,
I mean,
stuck last year, and he won a championship this year. So
they also, it's not, he got there, they sucked. He got hurt, right?
yeah,
Then they brought in AD and some other pieces to help him.
right.
So, I mean, let's not act like the man did it by himself. AD was a huge.
But you're acting like Jordan did it by himself when he won championships with Chicago, though.
I never said Jordan did it by himself. I never said Jordan did it by himself.
Yeah, but okay, if that's the case, LeBron won championships with more people than Jordan did. And maybe,
of course he did. He went all over the league. What do you?
I mean, doesn't matter. Who won 3 different championships with 3 different teams, though?
I don't see why that's such an important accolade. Like,
that's a huge accolade. The fact that he won championships without
do that when you have the luxury of going somewhere and saying, "Hey, come play with me."
Okay.
Come play with me.
And I would.
I'm not going to your team. You can bring in this person. Of course. Yes. You're going to do that. I don't want to hear that. No.
Well, LeBron doesn't have the luxury of being coached by Phil Jackson.
That's your, okay.
That's
okay.
That's a good point. How many Hall of Fame coaches coach LeBron James? Like, maybe Eric Spoelstra might be a Hall of Fame coach, but
he'll probably be there.
That's probably it. Frank Vogel, maybe, if he continues winning, right? We don't know what his career holds for him yet, but yeah, that's it.
I mean, for me, picking your team, basically picking your team and going wherever you want, and having a great coach, to me, they kind of cancel each other out.
Oh, come on, dude.
And then let's go back to the players themselves, right? So, how many times has LeBron been on the all defensive team for the NBA? Not as many as Jordan, right? How many scoring titles does he have? 1. Right?
That's not his game. Scoring is not his game, though. That's not fair.
Right, he's a passer. I get that. What I'm saying. So a lot of the argument is, right, when it comes down time to do your thing and you need them points, MJ, give me the ball, I'm taking us there. LeBron, I'm going to kick it back to you. Hope you can make this shot.
Look, fair. So LeBron does tend to pass on, the final seconds of the game, but also statistics shows that he's a pretty clutch player. But I will give this credit to LeBron. And so, do you remember, what was it? It was against Miami this year, right? When AD hit the game winner, right? AD hit a 3-pointer game winner. If you remember that play, LeBron James just sat there. He did not move. Everyone was all trained on LeBron James. And we missed a 7-foot guy run to the 3-point lane and shoot.
Yeah.
I mean, that's because of LeBron, right? That's because of LeBron. You have to give him credit for that, right?
I'll give him credit for that, but at the same time, MJ, it's not like the defense isn't trained up on MJ, and he's still going in and scoring, making the buckets.
But there are also cases where he's had to pass too, right? Remember, he made a pass to John Paxson to win a championship. He made a pass to Steve Kerr to help him win a championship too. So he's gotten his he'll score. He can score. We all remember the last crossover he did on what's the name of that team? The Jazz, right? To win his 6th, right? But at the same time, he's also passed in his career too, right? Steve Kerr, John Paxson.
Yeah, I'm not denying that he's passed.
Perfect cases.
But as always, killer instinct, that assassin mentality.
So just everyone out here, I don't think, and this is also fun about this, I don't think I can ever change Nicholas' mind.
I mean, just like I can't change it. I mean, the whole thing is it's all. You're not gonna be able to change your mind. It's like if we were talking about top 5 rappers, right? I mean, you're never
Well,
If you said top 5 right now, I would probably say your top 5 is trash.
okay, let's not get in that argument. I, I will say this, right? Like it's more of an emotional like debate, right? Because Jordan means a lot to a lot of people. You know, I know he means a lot to me watching him growing up, right? So it's kind of hard for us to accept like this young guy might be the GOAT now, right? I think that's a huge part of it. I also, and I'm gonna actually go a little political here. I think the fact that us old heads don't like to give credit to the younger generation is also the same reason why we have two 70-year-olds running for president right now. That's just my 2 cents. Maybe off topic, but
I don't think the presidential race factors into this discussion.
whatever. I just wanted to say that.
But I'll give you that. You know, it's typical that the older generation doesn't want to pass the baton all too easily. But for me, if you're talking about who is on my, this is a good question for you too, like who's on your basketball Mount Rushmore, right?
Okay.
For me right now, it's MJ, it's LeBron, it's Kobe, and it's Kareem. That's my Mount Rushmore right there, right now.
We got to name 4. We can't name 5, can we? So that's a good one. That's a good one. I would probably say the same, except for I'll take out Kareem. And Kareem is great. That's tough to take out Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Oof. And I will put Bill Russell in place of Kareem.
What's wrong with that? How about this? Here's a question for you. What is LeBron's signature move?
I would say the crab dribble.
It might be passing the ball. It might be passing the ball. Huh? What's his signature move? What's his signature shot?
He does signature shot for how is this relevant?
I'm just asking, you know what I mean? I'm just asking, like, what's his go-to? What's his go-to?
His go-to was the crab dribble, so they start calling it travel, which it kind of is. I'll give you, it kind of is.
I mean, that's kind of why I asked you that question, right? So the man's signature move was a foul, right? And MJ's signature move, of course, you have that fadeaway, the classic fadeaway, the unstoppable fadeaway.
Look, I will say this: LeBron came to the league. He wasn't a great shooter, right? He wasn't a great back to the post player, right?
Still not a great free throw shooter either.
Yeah, and he's still not that great as a 3-point shooter and just a shooter in general, but he's improved so much, right?
But MJ's mid-range game, unstoppable. Unstoppable.
I would say it was pretty stoppable. When he was in the Wizards, it was stopped. I would say that.
What's that?
When he was with the Wizards, he was stopped. Just saying. Let's not forget that. No.
Let's also not forget the fact that the man came back to the Wizards because he was trying to get that GM job, and he only did that to raise the clout of the team. I mean, he had a whole, and then he said himself, "I'm just trying to scratch an itch. Like, I know I'm old, but hey, I still like to play."
I just love how he comes out with this documentary, and he neglects his time at the Wizards as part of that documentary.
It's called The Last Dance. For a reason.
Yeah,
because it's about his last championship.
Exactly.
That's what the documentary is about.
Fair enough. I'm saying it's convenient. I'm saying that
and by the way, he was still an all-star. He was still an all-star.
Okay.
He was still averaging about 28 points a game.
28? No.
Look it up.
No.
Look it up.
Lie. Let's look it up right now.
Let me look it up.
Yeah.
I saw something on there. Hold on.
No, that's BS. He averaged 20 points his last season. I don't know what he averaged the season before, but his last season was 20.
I might have just been looking at that first season.
Well, no, I don't think he averaged 28 points his second to last season either. Like, that's way too high. 28? It's insane. Let's see. All right.
Okay, 21. You're right. 21.
22 points, or 23, his second to last season. The last season was 20 points.
All right. You got me on that one.
I'm just saying. So yeah. Let me also say this too.
Still made an all-star though.
When we're what did you say?
Still made an all-star though. If
Whatever.
you want.
Hey, I love Jordan. It's hard for me to accept the fact that LeBron may be the GOAT, but I think I'm kind of warming up to the idea now.
Give me 2 more rings, LeBron. Give me 2 more rings.
Two more,
More rings.
and he'll be the GOAT for you.
I'll be more considerate.
He's never being the GOAT for you. He's never gonna be the GOAT for you.
More rings. Right now, I'm not even considering. It's nice to have the conversation, but you gotta give me 2 more rings, bro.
Well, LeBron, if you're listening, if you're watching this now, I'll consider you the GOAT. Like it's up for consideration. I can have this debate, and I won't look down.
So you don't consider him to go?
Not.
Just said it. Just said it.
I think I told you at the beginning, right, of this is that, like, it's hard for me to consider LeBron the GOAT because of what watching Jordan means to me, right?
Okay.
And it's kind of like the Bruce Lee situation. Like, we all consider Bruce Lee as like one of the greatest martial artists ever, like ever. And if anyone tries to like say otherwise, we like usually pounce on them, right? I don't know if you saw the latest movie by Leonardo DiCaprio, Brad Pitt, Quentin Tarantino movie. It was called
something Hollywood.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. That's what it was called, right? So in that movie, the Brad Pitt character beat up on like the Bruce Lee character, and we were like,
he didn't know. He didn't beat up on him. It was no.
Okay, so the fact that you responded to that, though, the way you responded to that, though, kind of proves my point, right? Of how we hold these guys to such a high standard, right? That will never.
I'm trying to, for accuracy's sake, right? They went at it, and then it ended before Bruce Lee like really got into it because they got hits in on each other, and then he threw Bruce Lee like into the car,
yes,
right? And then somebody came and broke it up. Right?
How is that not called beating up on Bruce Lee though? That's called beating up on Bruce Lee. That's what it's called.
They beat up on each other. Secondly, Bruce Lee's daughter came out and said like that was a fictional account of what happened.
No,
not even. Like,
that's fake. That what happened was fake. Let's be real. The Brad Pitt character wasn't a real character. My point, though, which you proved, is that how we put Bruce Lee in such a high character, we don't let his name be tarnished, right? We're not willing to let Bruce Lee's ever be tarnished. Even in a fictional fight versus a fictional character, right? Brad Pitt, that character with Brad Pitt does not exist. That situation never happened, right? But even with that, right, we still kind of take up to like Bruce Lee and say, nah, that's effed up. Like, why are we, he didn't get beat up, or what's up with that, right? You know, I remember when I saw that scene, I'm like, that's kind of messed up, right? So that's the thing with like this Jordan debate, right? Like we will never ever admit that, you know, Jordan maybe not as good as we think he is, right? He's always going to hold this high standard to his last.
Not as good as we think he is.
There we go.
What are you talking about?
There we go. There we go. It's never going to happen. I think LeBron can win like maybe 5 more championships. He's 35 now. He can win to the age of 40, and we still won't consider him the greatest.
I disagree with that. I mean, the man came out and won 5 more championships. I mean, you just gotta give it to him at that point.
Yeah,
I mean, winning championships and you're still playing at all-star level. I mean, yeah. I mean, it's over, right? It's over. So, all right. So at the end of the day, obviously, you didn't change my mind. And,
of course not. Of course not.
MJ is still the GOAT. So.
Let's 1 more championships.